Pioneer, innovator, tastemaker, genius. Steve Jobs transformed the way we think about technology and the Apple. Walter Isaacson is Jobs' biographer.
Steve Jobs is sort of the American creation myth writ large. He started a company in his parents' garage with the chubby kid from down the street, and he turned it into the most valuable company in the history of the world.
Growing up in Silicon Valley, Jobs became the oddest fusion of California's engineering and hippie cultures. He wasn't a programmer so much as a marketer and dreamer whose big idea was to sell his friend Steve Wozniak's creations.
He was smart enough to know that he needed Steve Wozniak and others who were much better software engineers or hardware engineers. But what he's able to do is bring everything together into a package and then figure out how to build a business around it.
And what a business he built. More than anyone, Jobs put the personal into personal computers, creating elegant machines that sometimes looked like a toy and, often as not, were as admirably easy to use as one.
Technology was barreling along in the mid-70s when he starts Apple, but he's the one who said, let's make it intuitive and simple and beautiful. He connects art to technology.
But his demeanor and managerial style was not as simple.
I've talked to people close to him about his managerial style. Yes, he was passionate. Yes, he could be sharp with people, but he also recognized talent, and he passionately believed in the quality of the products that Apple was going to create.
The personality of Steve Jobs was somebody who believed that the ordinary rules didn't apply to him. He was special. He could distort reality and make things happen.
Eventually, though, after a 1985 power struggle with his hand-picked CEO John Sculley and the Apple board, Jobs left the company he started.
After Steve gets ousted from Apple, he formed his own computer company called Next, where he really indulges his passion for perfection. And what he learns is you have to make some trade-offs, because it wasn't very successful in the marketplace.
But he's got this incredible drama of being kicked out of his own company, going off into Pixar, which was a scrappy little animation studio he got from George Lucas, turning it into a blockbuster business, and then coming back to Apple, riding in and saving the business.
The year was 1997.
He says focus. He cuts out all sorts of product lines. And he says we're going to simply do a desktop and a laptop for the home and for the office.
But Jobs' focus wasn't just on desktops and laptops. He loved music, Dylan, the Beatles. He wanted to carry them with him. It was 2001.
He launches something that nobody expects, which is the iPod, and it sort of changes the music industry just like he had changed the home computer industry.
So originally, the iPod was supposed to be something that made you want to buy a Mac. That was the way Steve Jobs had positioned it. He was trying to get people to switch from Windows to Macs. It wasn't until he and the team at Apple decided to make the iPod work on Windows that it really took off.
The iPod led to another Jobs innovation.
And we are calling it iPhone.
One of the interesting things about the iPhone is that everybody at Apple knew it would cannibalize the iPod. The iPod was very successful, but Steve Jobs started worrying about what could go wrong. And he said, well, if the brain-dead people who make cell phones learn to put music on cell phones, that will hurt the iPod. So we have to cannibalize ourselves before somebody else eats our lunch.
I've switched to an Apple ecosystem between my phone and my iPad and the laptop that I have. Everything works together. I can keep all my music in one place, and that's what really captures you.
But Jobs wasn't done. If anything, a 2003 diagnosis of pancreatic cancer quickened his restless pace of innovation.
I think people were puzzled, in the years of 2000 to 2010, about why Steve Jobs kept going into different industries. But it totally transforms what our view of the phone is. And then he does it again with the tablet. People had made tablets before. Nobody expected Apple suddenly to do it.
And by the way, my 2.5-year-old can maneuver my iPhone better than I can, and the iPad. When you make it easy enough that a 2.5-year-old can use it, well, that explains why he's been so successful.
And not just as a maker and marketer of products. Some call him a retail genius on a par with Sam Walton. The App Store, iTunes, those sleek, stylish branded outlets.
That full 360-degree immersive experience in Apple's world really caught the consumer's imagination. And Steve Jobs, at least as far as business is concerned, became larger than life right around then.
In August 2011, he stepped down as Apple's CEO. 6 weeks later, he was dead.
I think a generation from now, in fact a century from now, Steve Jobs is the person we're going to most remember as being the epitome of the business in the digital age. The personal and home computer industry, the music industry, the digital animation and retail stores, publishing, tablet computing, over and over again, he's a disruptor, and he's the one we're going to remember a long time from now.